Hi, this is Scott from CZSpring, and I'm here to show you how to swap out the thumb safety spring in your CZ. The first step, as always when handling a firearm, is to clear the weapon. Empty chamber, so we're going to get the top end off the gun. Next step is to get the tension off the hammer, so we're going to remove the mainspring. You might be able to do it with the mainspring installed, but I find it's much easier. If you're really struggling, you can go ahead and get the entire hammer out of the way, but that shouldn't be necessary. So we'll get the mag brake out of here and then remove the mainspring. Alright, with that out of the way, the spring we're after lives right here between the sear block and the frame. So we've got to get the sear block out of the way, sear cage out of the way. To do that, we've got to get the safeties out. There's a little spring that lives down here and it falls in a groove on the safety, so we've got to get that up and out of the way so we can remove the safety. I find an X-Acto knife actually works pretty well for getting into some of these tight spots, but a small screwdriver should work for you too. So get that up. Sorry, I've kind of got to see what I'm doing and it's not necessarily in the best position for you guys to see what's going on. I will say if you're using an X-Acto knife, be careful not to break the tip off. That could lead to bad things. Alright, so we got the sear cage out of the way, safety's out. So now we have access to the spring. Again, I take my X-Acto knife, I'm going to pry on the back of the spring and kind of pop it out of the little pocket in the frame. You want to keep a little pressure in the area so that parts don't go flying. So that's all there is to it. Also be warned that there's another little block on the right side of the frame that holds the right side safety in place. Make sure that is still there. And that's all there is to it. Spring's out. The little safety block is out. To replace it, start by dropping the spring onto the little boss on the block. I'm kind of going to do the reverse. We're going to set this into the back of the frame and then push down and in to try and get it to seat. Most of the time it drops right in place for me, but I will not lie, I have chased the spring around the room and said some nasty things from time to time, but let's see how it goes. So again, we're going to kind of keep the hammer out of the way. Put the spring on that little boss. Let's try that again. Put the spring on that little boss. Get the hammer up out of the way. Push it into that seat on the frame. And again, we're going to push into the frame and back. And there you go. Now that we've got the safety spring back in place, it's time to reassemble the gun. It's the same steps we've followed before, just in reverse order. Make sure that little block is in place on the right side of the frame. That's going to hold the right side safety in. So we'll drop that in place. Make sure that block is still flush in this little pocket there, otherwise it's going to interfere with the sear cage, which goes in next. And then the left side safety. It's only going to go so far, and then we've got to pull back on that little block that really locks the safeties in place, and that's the block that the spring is attached to. There it goes. Main spring back in. Mag brake back in. grips on, you guys can figure that out. Top end back on, slide stop in place. There you go.